how do we make sure we're investing that money and we're managing the money that we're making effectively, so we've got investments working outside of our business. In case one day we don't want to or can't work anymore, we'll be able to have investments that are generating us cash flow that we can continue to live the lifestyle that we want.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name is Rick Nusky. I'm the host of this wonderful show. I have such a great time speaking with some amazing people, and today's no different. I'm on the line with the wonderful Tony Caine. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Thanks, Rick. It's nice to be here.
Yes, wonderful. Now, look, we've got a lot to talk about today. I guess the rabbit hole goes deep on your story. There's been struggles, there's been success, there's been a professional sporting career. You're the full package, my friend. I'm wondering if we can, start by unpacking a little bit of your life, just to give some context to everybody who's listening to the show today.
Yeah, sure. And mate, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate that. I mean, it's probably you've probably made it sound a little bit more glamorous than it is, but mate, yeah, absolutely. So I suppose if I go back to the start, Rick, in terms of I was a 19-year-old kid, and I was a football mad family, so we had a big family of 1 of 6 kids, and we grew up in the country. My dad was a policeman, so we travel around the state. He'd get stationed at different stations, what have you, and it was a great upbringing. We didn't have much, but we had everything we needed, and long story short, it was just rugby league mad, the whole family. And we'd moved to Sydney, and it was my dream to play NRL and play rugby league, and I was never that good, to be brutally honest with you, but I was just a worker, and I sort of just thought I can, what I don't have in skill, I can just try it out. And I know that's a cliche, but I sort of had to live that, because I could tell you now, I didn't have the size, the skill, or the speed. But so mate, I just stuck at it, and you know how sometimes you work really hard and then things go your way.
Yep.
And
what do they say? The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah, exactly. Spot on, Rick. And I was really struggling when I was 17, 18, and wasn't making much inroads. And then when I was 19, it all just come together for me. And the big fella upstairs, I always sort of say, just give me a little bit of luck and I'll do the rest.
Yep.
And it come together that I was going to make my debut at 19 years of age, and I was playing really well, and I had fortunately all these offers on the table for really big contracts, right? So
yep.
Typical cocky 19-year-old, I thought, I dead set thought I was set for life. Coming from no money, the money that was on the table, it was life-changing, right?
Yeah.
But me being a bit of a smart ass, I thought, well, no, I'm in pretty good form here. I'm about to make my pro debut on national TV. I'm like, I won't sign any of these contracts. I'll play a few games and then I'll ask for some more money, right? So then I get my debut. 4 minutes into it, I go for a run and go for a kick, and a player dives at my legs, and my leg completely wraps around his body, and literally every ligament in my knee had broken, and there wasn't much apart. And if your listeners out there, if you Google Tony Caine knee injury, it doesn't take long to find, and it's on my website.
Oh yeah.
If you make sure you got a strong stomach though. But but the long story short was, a week later, I was unemployed. Like, my knee was, the doctor's report was that it looked like I'd been in a car accident, and the diagnosis was that it was unlikely I'd ever play rugby league again. Wow. So, and you can't blame clubs. The offers dried up and it was all over before it got started. So, so mate, then I had to reassess what my life was going to look like, and I ended up, getting a contract and playing a few games, but it was never the same. And then I fell into finance, mate, which I've sort of finance and business, where where I've stayed since, and I can go into that the journey there if you like, but it's a completely different story.
Yeah, no, well, look,
sometimes I think just as hard.
I think we should unwrap most of this because, again, this is about getting some context for everybody who's on the show today, because I think had a great deal of success in the finance industry. I wonder if we can, I guess, unwrap that just a little bit to see how that's changed your perspective.
Yeah, so Rick, my injury was almost like a COVID for a lot of people, where I thought I was set, everything was going on great, and then the next day it's completely different, and you've got to just pivot. So I'd always had an interest in finance, and I didn't come from a lot of money, so it always fascinated me about why some kids at school would go on holidays and had nice houses, and some like myself didn't. Mm-hmm. And I just remember that I'd always was fascinated about the economics of the world. So I fell into finance, and I found this graduate course where it was like a diversity program at AMP, where they would take people from different backgrounds, mm-hmm. and you didn't necessarily have to, they would give you the qualifications. So I scammed my way into that, for lack of a better word. And and that was my introduction to finance. And I remember I was in a room full of ex-bankers and lawyers and accountants and, managers and what have you. And I was the youngest by a long way. And how it worked is you had 12 weeks to prove what you could do. And then if you could prove yourself, they would then place you with a financial planning firm, like a leading firm in the country. And I just sort of decided to ramp things up, and I really went for it. And I just thought I need to bring a decade. I need to bring forward a decade into 3 months here, and just do everything I can to reset my career and my life. And fortunately, Rick, after a lot of hard work, I managed to come out of that program in the top 3, and that got me a position in a financial planning firm called Navigate Financial Group. And that's where I met one of my mentors, Harry Mustakis, who he taught me how to make an impact, but also how to make an income. Mm-hmm. Sort of that makes sense. Like, yep. He's a very successful, and I learned then about the win-win in life. And I saw Harry make a lot of money by helping a lot of people. And then that's when that was the light bulb for me. I was like, you sort of just sometimes assume that it's a zero-sum game, right? Where it has to, maybe it's the footy player in me, where I just always thought, for me to win, someone has to lose.
Somebody has to lose, yeah.
But that's what I love about business. It's not the case. And I think the best business owners, they realize that, right? There's no losers. There's just winners, and there's an abundance of wealth. So, mate, that was the pivotal moment. And I spent a few years there at Navigate before I decided to start my own business. Mm-hmm. And it's probably a different story in itself. I had an opportunity to buy a business that was going to cost me $200,000, and I didn't have really any money. So I borrowed $20,000, and then I told them I'd pay the rest off in 2 years. I had no idea how I was going to do it, but they let me do it, and I started that business, and that's when I really learnt the value of systems, Rick. And I, like every business owner, or like most business owners, you go through that initial phase where it's just complete immersion, and you spend every waking. If you're not there, you're there mentally. And I was like, this is great, and I love the idea that I suppose it's the challenge that a lot of businesses have. I had complete control of my life, but I didn't have control, because I was like, this business is actually consuming me. I'm like, I love having my own business, but it can't always be like this. So that's when I built a system, and I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to just work my guts out for 40 years. I'm going to make sure that I can build a business that gives me the lifestyle I need today, but also creates the wealth that I need for tomorrow. So that's when I developed my 4-step system that I've been using for almost 10 years now, Rick, and it's helped me to, long story short, I was really fortunate that I could exit that business, and I sold that business to NAB, and that enabled me to start another business, which I've been really fortunate to recently sell. And I should say too, I'm probably giving you the highlights, but there was a lot of lowlights on that journey, but yeah, I know I don't want to hold you up for 3 hours, but I suppose the conclusion to that, Rick, is systems and creating a win-win have been really pivotal in my success, and I think I would be lying if I said the big fella upstairs didn't give me a big hand along the way.
Yeah, giving you some direction. Now, I love the fact that it's not a zero-sum game for you. Everybody can win out of this, and this is a really good fit for the My Future Business audience because you're teaching them that is the case. And if you look under our logo, it's helpful people helping people. Everybody wins in this experience. So thank you for opening up and sharing not only the strawberries and cream, but also the darker moments that you've probably experienced along the way. I think that's relevant because you don't want to, I guess, mislead people and give them this false sense of, hey, look, this is going to be easy. I'm wondering, can we maybe break down, without giving away the farm, what the 4-step system is all about? What are the major components?
Oh, no, of course, mate. I give away the farm 10 times a day. That's what it's all about. So the 4 steps, right? The first one is maximizing your energy by looking after your health. So, I'm not a health guru, but I've been really fortunate to play pro sports where you get access to the best dietitians and best trainers. So I don't believe that, anyone, I know you've got kids, Rick, I've got kids, we all do our best. So, I don't exercise for a 6-pack, right?
No. But
I'm really conscious of looking after my health, right? So to give you my formula with my health, right? I've got some really simple things I do. I go to bed at the same time every night and I wake up at the same time every day, right? It just gets me into that system where I sleep 7.5 hours. So it's just that I just get used to that and it helps my energy because it's regulated. I exercise 150 minutes a week and I've done that for 12 years and non-stop, whether that's a holiday or conference, and that can be broken down to whether it's 5 times 30 minutes or 3 times 50 minutes or what have you. But I get my 150 minutes in every week and I don't go hard at all, Rick, but I just make sure it's consistent.
You're consistent, yeah.
And then I just eat 80% of the time. So I love a beer, I love a wine, I love a pizza. But, super consistently, whether it's a holiday or whatever, 80% of the time the stuff going into my body is good. And, and like I said, I don't care about 6-pack or anything, but what I do care about is maximising my energy because I know the more energy I have, the more I can get done. The more I can get done, the more I make, and the more I make, the more I can invest. So I've connected the dot between good health and wealth, right?
And productivity.
Yeah. So that's step 1, essentially maximising the energy that you have for every day. Step 2, Rick, is what I call the number. So I believe that everyone needs to know their number, right? So what I mean by that is it's the amount of money that you and your partner or the household needs to take home every year to live the exact lifestyle that you want.
Yeah.
Right. So with my clients, I help them to figure out what that number is, right? So with clients of mine, even though I'm a business coach, Rick, I use my financial planning background to help them figure out. So you have Mr. and Mrs. Smith. If I know they've got a couple of kids and they want to live in this house and they need to pay that off before they retire, I can help them to figure out what they need to earn to live the lifestyle they want today. And that's like, to educate the kids, to do the travel they want to do, but also to invest what they need to invest to make sure they're growing their wealth, right?
Bit of compounding.
So, yeah, exactly. So I do that analysis for people and I run the numbers and help them figure out that that household needs to earn 250 grand a year or 110 grand a year or 500 grand a year. So that's step 2, Rick, because I like to start there because once you know that number, right, then that becomes your North Star for your business. Yeah. So if we know, like a lot of business owners, they're working their guts out and hats off to them, but rightly or wrongly, they don't really know what they're aiming for. I mean, they're all trying to get better, which is great, but there's no actual figure they're chasing in the majority of cases. So I like to give, once we know the number, step 3 is what do we need to strategically do with the business to make sure that there's enough revenue and the expenses are managed so that there's enough profit there that this person or individual or household can bring home the amount of money they need to live the lifestyle they need and invest for the future. So in that step, Rick, there's a lot of components. So we look at cost management. We figure out, okay, what are you actually selling? Is it a product? Is it a service? And we work out what the margins on that are, and we go through their whole business and understand what the profitable components are, what the least profitable components are, and help them figure out where they need to focus their attention on, and then how many units of what they sell they need to sell to get the turnover they need.
Yeah.
To then, and then we manage the expenses to make sure there's enough income there to do what they want to do. So that's the third step.
Yep.
And the fourth step is, okay, if we've maximised our energy and we're getting more done, and we know what we need to earn, and then we're going out and actually earning that, then the fourth step is, how do we make sure we're investing that money and we're managing the money that we're making effectively, so we've got investments working outside of our business, in case if one day we don't want to or can't work anymore, we'll be able to have investments that are generating us cash flow that we can continue to live the lifestyle that we want. And I love that step, Rick, because we've all known and seen people where they've thrown absolutely everything into their business, and for whatever reason, call it a COVID or what have you, they could be blindsided. So I like, if I was to, and I hope I'm not blabbering on here, Rick.
No,
but,
not at all. Not at all. This is great content.
Oh, okay. Thanks, mate. If I was to ask, if someone was to ask me what I did, I would say I help people sleep at night. And that's pretty corny, but what I found is if you can tell people, help them figure out what they need to earn, help them figure out how they're going to earn it, and then help them figure out how they're going to have that amount of money forever. It's really nice to know that, and that can make the hard days and the hard weeks and the hard years all worth it, Rick, because you know how it ends.
Yep. So you've worked with thousands of people. I've seen your website and I've seen some of the feedback that you've been receiving. I suspect that you have long-term working relationships with people, and I suspect you might even have some friendships that have grown out of the style of approach that you have. Can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, the time it takes to start seeing results with your approach?
Yeah, mate, it's one of those ones where I don't like to put a Band-Aid on things, right? Mm-hmm. So what we do is how it works is what I find is when I go into a business, there's usually 3 to 4 months of what I would call the sprint, Rick, where the list is pretty long, and it could be personally, we need to get on top of the debts, we need to refinance, we need to get on consolidate debts, right? In the business, we need to restructure things, we need to look at go through our expenses, we need to go through our revenue, we need to there's a lot of strategic planning, both in a personal and business situation. So that takes about sort of like 4 months to build. I call it so that's the sprint, right? It takes about 4 months. Then we'll probably go into like a jog, right? For another 8 months, where it's like, okay, this is the new world. We know our numbers now. So then how do we sort of build consistency in our business to make sure that we've got the metrics in place so we're constantly hitting our targets, right? And that's my job, to come in there and make sure that's happening. And then I sort of like to get my clients into a situation where they can just go on a cruisy walk. They've done the sprint, they've done all the legwork.
Yep. They've got momentum.
It's almost like losing weight. Yeah, it's like losing weight, right? It's like losing weight sucks, right? But once you've lost it, it's not that hard to keep it off, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And that's exactly the same as my process. So there's some heavy lifting at the start, and then it's sort of then I just want to get clients into a groove where what I love the most, Rick, is what gets me really juiced up is when clients know their number, right, it helps them de-stress, because let's say that you know that you need to do X, Y, Z every year to bring in your number. So it enables them to say no to that shitty client. Do you know what I mean? Or that. So it enables them to say no to that deal or that opportunity where there's a lot of risk in it, because they can go back and they can sort of go, well, I know where I'm going with my life. I know what my numbers are. I actually don't need to take on that risk.
Yeah.
So, and that's a really nice thing to do, because we all if you ask every business owner, the worst part is dealing with really shitty clients, you know, and if we can, and we can never avoid that, of course, right? But we can significantly minimise how many shitty clients we have to deal with.
There seems to be a very purposeful direction. You know, you're waking up with the knowledge that you have a set plan that you're working towards. You have somebody, i.e. you in the background, I guess, encouraging and maybe giving a bit of a nudge now and then to keep going and keep doing the right things. I wonder, Tony, what other type of clients that you work with? Are you talking about startups? Are you talking about existing business owners? Who do you work with?
Well, Rick, you know what? I've purposely designed my business to be able to work with all types, and the reason I've done that is because I love the startup phase, and I think if I could bring my decades of not decades, but a decade of experience into 1 hour for someone, I love that startup phase because that can help them completely start off on the right direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd hate to think someone was spending a year or two with the wrong strategy, right?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I have like a 1 hour strategy session that's for startups where it's like it's all done by Zoom where they can just call up and say, mate, Tony, this is what I'm thinking. Here's my game plan, and I can just give them my honest assessment of it, and then give them a strategy to chase down. So that's sort of I just do. You know, that's all done by appointment. So I love those because that can be like light bulbs for people where they can go, oh shit. Well, I did one today where a client of mine thought he was going to go down this direction where he was going to go and try to sell to restaurants, right?
Yep.
It's a technology in the payment sector. And we worked out that there's already a point of sale software in all of these restaurants. So rather than him trying to get 1,000 restaurants, well, he can just go to one of the payment providers and then they can then distribute to those 1,000 restaurants, right? Yep. So I love that stuff because he might have spent 2 years door knocking on restaurants, right? Where now his strategy is really clear. He just needs to go and he actually only needs to sign one deal, and he can sign 1,000 deals within that one deal.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's where. So to answer your question, sorry, mate. And then that's sort of the first offering. Then I have like an online course that I've built that people. That's more like the Bunnings of what I do, where I've built out this course to help people to figure out their number and figure out how they can manage their wealth better and structure their business better. So that's just for the DIY people who they might not be startup or they're just they're just getting started, but they don't quite need or want coaching, but they see value in investing in a course to make sure that they're building the foundation right.
Yep.
And then I have like a transformational program where it's a lot more intensive, Rick, where I catch up with my clients once a month, and that's like I become their what I call like the head of strategy for their life and their business. So that's a bit more comprehensive. So they're the sort of the three services that I like to help clients with, and the reason is because it doesn't miss out on anyone there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Tony, I had a couple of questions come to mind. First of all, one about, I guess, your fitness, like you talked about. One of the first steps is looking after yourself. But then the last one is about investments. If we could start with the first question in relation to somebody who comes to you, they're new, but they're being adversely affected by their mindset because maybe they're not as fit and as healthy and as they want to be. What do you say? What do you do with a client that are in that position? They know they want to make changes, but they're struggling a little bit with themselves personally.
Yeah, mate, it's very common. I'll start with saying that, and no one is perfect. And I would say to that person, if let's say that they're a 3 out of 10 in their health, right? If they scored themselves a 3 out of 10, I don't want none of us are 10 out of 10s, right? I just want to get over time help that person to get to a 7 out of 10 and then stay there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It all comes down to structure, Rick. And what I'll do, I'll email you I have a workbook, right? That's free. It's completely free. It's like a life and business planning template, and I'll email that to you so the listeners can get access to it. But
Fantastic.
that has an ideal week in it, Rick. And one of the first things I do with my clients is we literally get this template out and we map out the week, right? And this is an ideal week, and obviously holidays and conferences and things pop up, right? So, but it's like the diet. If you can stick to this ideal week 80% of the year, you're going to achieve your desired outcome. So getting back to your client who is unhappy with his health, firstly, I would show them, I would want to understand from them how effective their current output is based off their current level of health.
Yeah.
And I can only lead the horse to water. I need them to want it more than me. Yeah. But if they want to, everyone wants to make more money, right? And they want to skip over the health thing, but you can't have one or the other. You know, and even if you can, you don't want to be the billionaire on his private jet with chest pains, you know, Rick.
No,
like that's not what we want.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
It's too hard to get there, you know. So I need to explain it to them in a way that they can want it. They can want it for themselves, right? And they can understand that the healthier they are, the more productive they're going to be, and the better business operator they will be, and ultimately the more money they'll make.
Yeah, that's great insight. I really appreciate you sharing these insights, Tony. Thank you. I want to switch over to investments, because obviously this is about compounding and looking at different portfolios. It might be bricks and mortar, it might be stocks and bonds. What are you, I guess, encouraging or seeing the trends at the moment in terms of investment? What's the best way to go there?
Well, mate, absolutely. So I'll probably just preface without, this is not, I'm unable to give financial advice. However, it's the good thing about investing, Rick, is there's not that many options, right? So I'll give you my philosophy and how I've always approached it, both personally and professionally. So when it comes to investing, I always look to plan, and I've sort of planned out my next sort of, it might seem a little bit OCD, which I am, but for myself and my clients, I sort of map out, how the next 50 years looks, right? And I know that sounds like a lot, but what I aim to do is to get all of my clients into a position where they can afford to buy the house that they want, A, and they can afford to pay it off, B, and then once they don't want to work or can't work anymore, they've got enough money coming in for their lifestyle, which is C, right? And if you could, and I've literally worked with 10,000 plus people, Rick, and 99.99% of people just want to have a really nice home that's debt-free and the ability to retire if they choose to do so. And then the only other thing sort of probably underlying that is along the way, look after their kids and maybe their parents and help other people out who maybe need a hand more than they do, right? Yeah. So to answer your question, and apologies to listeners, I never have a short answer, but I don't want to leave any stone unturned. So to answer your question, I don't get too caught up in the asset, right?
Yeah.
I get caught up in the strategy, and of course, you need to know how much you need to invest, right? So we can work out, all right, well, we need to invest if I was to chat with you, Rick, and we were to say, okay, well, based on what we've worked out, for you to live your lifestyle, we need to go and invest $1.4 million, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the part that I help work out, but then we get experts to say, okay, well, if we're going to invest 1.4, where does that go? Now, the first thing might be, well, what do you do for work? Do you need a premises for your business, right? Now, that would be a natural good investment, right? Because you get security of knowing that your place of work is owned by you. And even if your business doesn't do what you want it to do over the next 20 years, the property should, do what you want it to do. Yep. Yeah. Yep. So I love that. I love that idea of, having the place that you do your place of business from, having that owned by you, right? I just trust me, that is a really good sleep that's a really good sleep at night thing, because people go, far out, my business is struggling. But this property's going up in value. So it makes you feel good, right? Yeah. I love that. And then outside of that, Rick, I just love good quality assets. So one thing I would say, look, man, I spent, what was it, nearly 8-9 years as a financial advisor, but I still have a financial advisor that helps me. So I
You can always learn,
outsource.
can't you?
Yeah, and I just think that's too. I spend my time helping people with strategizing in business, Rick. I don't have my head in the fin review and reviewing annual reports of companies. So I don't want to take the risk of me thinking that I can make a better decision than someone who spends all day every day
doing it.
So yeah, so I'm willing to pay someone. Let's say, good example, right, is if I've got 100 grand to invest, I would prefer to pay someone 5 grand and invest 95 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make, do you know what I mean? Like,
great sense. Yeah.
Yeah. That, and mate,
working smarter, not harder.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I would back that 95 grand that was, based off expert advice would beat my 100 grand, which is based off my hunch over a 10-year period. and that's replicated with property too, Rick. So I like the idea of using buyer's agents to buy properties for me and clients because, it's a huge investment and they spend their whole day analysing the data to figure out what the next best hotspot is and the best asset. So to answer your question, I don't get caught up in the property versus shares. I love good quality assets, and I don't mind if it's a share or a property.
As long as it brings a return on your investment ultimately somewhere along the line. Now, I think what's important at this stage is when people want to connect with you, Tony, and they want to learn how to go through this process, what exactly will they experience when they find you, and where are they going to find you?
Oh, yeah, the best way is just to head over to tonycaine.com. And what I do is I have a free discovery call. So last thing I want to do is take any money off anyone before I know I can help them.
Yeah.
So like I said before, I would only ever want to take on a client if I knew that I could make them 500% more than they paid me. So if they wanted to have a chat and continue the convo, they've just got to head over to tonycaine.com. Under the work with me section, there's a free discovery call. So they can just book a time in and mate, we just have a chat 15 minutes over Zoom and we work out if maybe one of my programs or courses might be suitable to help them get to the next level that they're trying to get to.
That's too easy. I love the simple approach. If you go to tonycaine.com, you will find the button that you can make an appointment to spend some time with Tony free of charge. This is something I definitely recommend that you do if you're looking to get involved with this 4-step system. It's been some great advice, some sage advice throughout the duration of this call, Tony. I thank you so very much for spending some time with me on the My Future Business Show today.
Oh, no, pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me, Rick.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.